The Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5 were the most anticipated cars of last year. And since they were released at the end of last year, also this year. Both cars stand on the same platform, so is this going to be an easy review and can I use the script of the Hyundai Ioniq 5? Or are the cars different enough? Hello there monsters and men, ladies and people. This is the Kia EV6 and welcome to Recharging. Because the Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5 both stand on the same platform, what is not so different are the different versions available for both cars. That means that this Kia EV6 is also available with two battery sizes, one of 58 kWh and one of 77 kWh. It is available with rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, ranging from 170 horsepower and 350 Nm of torque for the 58 kWh rear-wheel drive version and 325 horsepower and 605 Nm of torque for the 77 kWh version with all-wheel drive. What the Ioniq 5 doesn't have, at least not yet, and this Kia EV6 does, is a GT version. That GT version has 585 horsepower, 740 Nm of torque and can do 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds. 3.5 seconds! Who would have thought 10 years ago that a Kia would do 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds? And of course, all those different versions also have a different WLTP range. That means that you can get the Kia EV6 with a WLTP range ranging from 394 km for the 58 kWh battery pack with rear-wheel drive and 528 km for the 77 kWh battery pack with rear-wheel drive. I am currently driving that 77 kWh battery pack with rear-wheel drive. And during my test period, it is around 5 degrees. Sometimes it is raining, so the roads are wet. The cars are winter tires, and without having to try, I get around 400 km of range while driving on mixed roads. When I drive 130 km per hour, the range is more 300 km. But still, 400 km in, well, it's not massively winter here, but in cold conditions is really good. In summer you can get into that 400s. 528 km is a bit of a stretch, but I think you can get far into the 400s. What these cars also have in common because of that platform is the 800 volt architecture of the battery pack. And if you want to know why an 800 volt architecture is a big thing, I recommend you to watch my explanation in my review of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. But in a nutshell, because of that 800 volt architecture, this Kia EV6 can charge with a maximum power of 230 kilowatts. Open up charge port, there it goes, it is motorized. 230 kilowatts, and it can maintain a high charging speed for a long time. And because of that, charging this Kia EV6 from 10 to 80% will take you only 18 minutes. I mean, that is stopping, plugging it in, do a number 2, grab a coffee and you're on the go again. There is no affordable EV, except for the Ioniq 5, that can do it this quickly. It is amazing. This car does also have support for vehicle to load. And no, what I have in my hand is not something to whack someone, although you can do that. This is the vehicle to load adapter. With vehicle to load you can power anything with the battery pack of this car. Your phone charger, an electric barbecue, or you can even charge a other electric car with this electric car. Underneath the rear seats there is a regular wall plug socket, but you also have this adapter for the charge port. So what you do is put this adapter, if I can do it, yep, in the charge port, like this. And then underneath here, if I can open it, which is a struggle, is also just a regular wall plug. Turn it on, and there you go. You can power anything with the massive battery pack in this car. And that is where most similarity stops, because, well, look at it. It looks completely different from the Ioniq 5. Yes, this is a GT line with sportier bumpers and some other sportier accents, but still, the Ioniq 5 has a retro design, the Kia EV6 is more modern and more sporty. I really like the front. It reminds me a bit of a Jaguar I-Pace, especially the side profile. I think it looks good. Well, I think the front looks good. Do you see this red color? This is the standard color of the Kia EV6. I cannot understand why people would pay extra to go for a boring white one, a black one or a grey one. When you get this red color as standard, I think it looks amazing. And the last thing, I am also happy that Kia did not put a LED strip over the whole front like a whole lot of modern EVs like the Ioniq 5, ID4, Marvel R. In the dark, I think it just looks funny and it looks a bit weird. I don't like them. So the exterior is different from the Ioniq 5, the interior is as well. Where the Ioniq 5 tries to create a living room experience, this Kia EV6 has an interior that is more sporty and more centered around the driver. I do prefer the interior of the Kia EV6 though. First of all, you have this very high center console with huge storage space. I mean, you have huge storage space here under your center armrest, but also here under your center console. This one here is absolutely massive. You have some touch sensitive buttons here for your ventilated seats, heated seats and heated steering wheel. So very good Kia that you did that. The infotainment system is a bit tilted towards the driver for again that more sporty feel. And overall the build quality is good, the quality of the materials is good, the feel of the buttons, it is nicer in here than in a Volkswagen ID4. And this is the GT line, so the top of the range version, and you have some very nice things here like the white here in the door and the white on the seats. That looks really nice. Alcantara here on the seat, which is also really nice. And there is some interesting material being used here on your center armrest, but also here on the dashboard. It is a kind of rubbery material and it feels nice. It is a bit of a weirder material that you don't see a lot, but again, it feels nice and yeah, it feels nice. Besides that, what is always praised in Volkswagen reviews, but Kia also has it now, is that there is fabric here in your door pockets. So when you put your keys in your door pockets for some reason, they don't rattle around in there. Then what about the rear seats? Well, the seat in front of me is in my typical driving position. I am 1 meter and 85 centimeters, and as you can see, I have loads of knee room. At the moment, I cannot shove my feet under the seat in front of me, and that is because the seat is in its lowest position. But if the driver and also the passenger raises up their seat a little bit, you can also shove your feet under the seat in front of you. Then headroom, because sporty looks eat in headroom, and in this Kia it does as well. Headroom is not great. And to create more headroom, Kia decided to put the seat itself quite low into the car. And therefore my legs don't have a lot of support and I have this weird angle. And on longer trips, this may get uncomfortable. Of course, this is not a problem for children. And also the car is wide enough for 3 people to sit in. Quality back here is really good. Besides that, you have some pockets here to store your magazine, for example. You have USB ports. You have a center armrest with 2 cup holders. This car also has a ski hatch, which works a bit flimsy, but there you go. So yeah. The rear of this car really is something else, but I am not sure yet if I like it or not. In this red color, yes, I do think it looks cool, but I have also seen it in some other colors and then I think, looks a bit lumpy. Also, a big downside about this rear design is that it gets dirty really quick. If I want to open the charge port now, I get dirty fingers. But the tail light that goes over the whole front is really unique in this design. In the dark, it stands out and you can recognize a Kia EV6 from a distance. If I open up the boot, which will give me dirty fingers again because it is here, you will see a boot space of 480 liters. Not the smallest, not the biggest. There is some space here under the boot floor to store your charge cables, for example. And if I put down the rear seats, which you can do by handles in the boot floor, so that is handy, you get a boot space of 1260 liters. Depending if you have the rear-wheel drive or the all-wheel drive version, you get a frunk of 52 or a massive 20 liters. Yes, here I go again. The Kia EV6 is more sportier to drive than a Ioniq 5. The suspension is stiffer, the steering has more weight and more feeling to it. Because of that stiffer suspension, the car doesn't lean as much in the corners. Of course, there's also a downside, and that is that you feel more what is going on beneath you. But personally, I prefer that over the super comfort that the Ioniq 5 gives you. And the car doesn't feel as sporty as a Mach-E, but it sits nicely between that Mach-E and, for example, a Volkswagen ID.4. It is a really good balance between a more sporty feeling car and a more comfortable car. And also the car is quiet, which is always a good thing. But all that sportiness also comes with a downside, and then especially the sporty looks, because the rear window is pretty small. The C-pillars are pretty big, so visibility to the rear is not good. And I don't know if I ever mentioned this before in reviews of Kias and Hyundais, but as far as I know, Kia and Hyundai cars are the only cars where I can configure how much my turning signal should blink when I tap it. Because in every car, 3 blinks is the standard. But I am never in the other lane in 3 blinks. And in Kia and Hyundai, you can actually configure how much your turning signal should blink when you tap it. So the standard is 3, but you can also configure it to 5, my favorite, or even 7 times. It is such a small feature, but I really like it. The infotainment system is the same system that is being used in all Kia and Hyundais. And in general, it is a nice system to use. But it has the same problems as almost every other infotainment system nowadays. And that is that there are so many different settings and features that it can be hard to find something sometimes. Under the infotainment system though, there is a cluster that actually has 2 different functions. Right now it is my control for my multimedia system. So I have a volume knob here and some shortcut buttons. But if I press a button over here, it will switch to my climate control. And then my volume knob is now my temperature knob. So again, it has 2 functions, and you have to keep this in mind. You have to get used to it, because sometimes you think you are adjusting the volume, but you're actually adjusting the temperature. And as with every modern EV, this car does have an app, so you can use the app to preheat the car, to schedule your charging, etc. So what kind of regeneration features does this car have? Well, let me first start with the climate control, which has nothing to do with regeneration at all, but anyway. The climate control does have a driver-only mode, but also the automatic climate control even has 3 different levels. You have low, medium and high, all to save some energy. Okay, then regeneration, because there are flippers behind the steering wheel, and with those flippers you can determine the amount of regeneration that the car should do when you lift your foot off the accelerator. And you have a lot of options. First of all, you can coast. The car doesn't regenerate or brake at all. Then you can choose between level 1, 2 and 3. Besides that, you can also put it on auto, and then the car uses the radar in front of the car to determine how much regeneration it should apply. And you have, my favorite, 1 pedal drive mode. The only annoying thing is that when you put it in 1 pedal drive mode and you put the car in reverse and then back in drive again, it is not in 1 pedal drive anymore, and you have to enable it again. Why? And yes, being a modern car that will cost you at least 45,000 euros, this car does have all driving and safety features that are currently available on modern cars. Also, this car has something called highway driving assist, and what that is basically a combination of your adaptive cruise control, your lane keeping assist, etc. In general, the highway driving assist works well. Only when you get into a corner and you let the car do its thing, so you take your hands off the steering wheel, which is not allowed, it tends to go over the line. And also with the highway driving assist also comes a feature that the car can switch lane for you, but that works so slow that I rather do it myself. Besides that, blind spot monitoring, which is great, but you don't only see the warning in your mirrors, but you also see it in your head-up display. Really handy. And also there are cameras on your side mirrors. And when you turn on your turning signal, you see that camera output here in front of the driver in the display. So you basically see your blind spot here in front of you. Again, a really handy feature. I am impressed that Kia and Hyundai made 2 cars on the same platform that feels completely different. I mean, you don't always see that. Personally, I prefer the Kia EV6, but you cannot fault with either of them. Then comparing this car to the other competition, well, then I can only agree with the other reviewers, and that is that the Kia EV6 is one of the best EVs that money can currently buy. And that was the review of the Kia EV6. You know the drill, please give a like and leave a comment, and it would be awesome if you subscribed. And then I would like to say now thank you a lot for watching, and as always, to be continued.